we are here today for, I know you've marked your calendar for this, CDBG week, right? It's this time every year, with the cold weather, Pat, it just doesn't feel like CDBG week this week. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's springtime, it's CDBG week, and this is an occasion every year in which the city marks the accomplishments of the CDBG program and the CDBG providers and partners all across our community, and there are many, and recognizes some folks who've done some great work over not just the past year, but over the course of their careers. The CDBG program has been in place since it was either Nixon or Ford, right? I think it was actually Ford, right? The beginning of the Ford administration, right? During his term, so Nixon was still in. So he did some good stuff out as he was headed out the door. Not everything was so good, but the CDBG program was a huge lift to lots of cities, particularly in the 70s when the program was flush with cash and cities were at their nadir in terms of their economic growth and civic vitality. And even though the program has shrunk in terms of its capacity over the years, it still remains an important program for cities like New Bedford that have some significant financial constraints to do those things that are low-hanging fruit in terms of supporting important programs, construction work, infrastructure work that brightens the appeal of neighborhoods, and many other uses. The hallmark of the program is its flexibility. It's not a top-down grant program in which there are all sorts of strings attached to the funds and it's heavily prescribed. Instead, it's a program that gives cities some funds, a fair amount of funds, to do the things that are important to the cities themselves. Right? The decisions are made. It's federal funding, but local decision making, and that's, I think, the key to the success of the program. If you talk to mayors anywhere in America, they'll tell you how much they appreciate the program and the fact that it has been sustained, not nearly at the levels that we'd all like. Just to give you just a little bit of a window into it, in 1976, the city got some $13 million in CDBG funds. That was at a time when the city budget was approximately $50 million. So $13 million versus $50 million for the city's operating fund. Now the city's operating fund is 6 times as great. Our budget's $300 million, but the CD funds that we get now are only just over $2 million. So the program has shrunk significantly, but it still remains important to us. Not only the CDBG program, but also its companion programs, the ESG program as well as the home program, which help greatly in terms of helping people get housing and also supporting homeless folks in our community. So anyway, we celebrate all this, and it's an occasion for me to say a couple of things that bear emphasis. The success that we've had with the program, whether it's in supporting service providers in our community or doing the nice things like playgrounds and tree plantings, and as well as a number of other neighborhood beautification projects, wouldn't happen if it weren't for the hard work of the folks in our housing and community development planning department, headed up by Pat Sullivan. And many of you are here today and I just want to say thanks for all the hard work year round. I would just ask everybody for a round of applause to recognize all the hard work. It takes an awful lot of planning to make the funding go as far as it does, and the funding does leverage other funds, so it's not. It is a multiplier of sorts, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of compliance work. Because even though it is a flexible program, it's still the federal government, so it's not totally flexible. There are lots of rules that govern what we can do with the money, and Pat's team has been doing it extraordinarily well for lots of years, and so I just want to thank you and your team for doing such a great job for the city and every single day, not just today. There are there are way too many folks to recognize in terms of the recipients of funds, and because the list is indeed very long. So I don't mean to exclude anybody in terms of recognition, but I do want to just single out Bruce Morrell for his work with Youth Build and with PACE, and really making the most of the CD program and the ESG funds that PACE receives, and the hard work of Youth Build under Gloria Williams as well, teaming up together. Great job as always. And Bruce has been the mainstay of the provider network for a long time, but a mainstay of the community for a long time. If only we could get him to move from Fall River here. It's still, the city has failed over a long period of time to do that, but he's still, even though he lives in Fall River, he's still a mainstay here in New Bedford, and just want to say thanks for everything that you do, Bruce. And we have a short speaking program. Thank you. I'm glad when I don't have to actually cue the audience to clap for somebody. But no, Bruce is, Bruce is an example of someone who does work for the good of so many folks in the community, doesn't seek out the limelight, and still provides not only great service and great dedication, but also great leadership on some of the more complex issues, including homelessness in our city. So with all that, I want to, I have my annual CDBG Week proclamation, which I will not read in its entirety to you, but I will say this. Again, I do want to thank everybody for coming today, and we're going to have, as I said, a short program for you today that will include the recognition of the Sister Rose Award recipient, whose name I will not reveal. We're going to have a big build-up to that, so if you need to get up and get some more caffeine and carbs, you can do that in the meantime. So with all that, let me, as I said, the CDBG is a federal program, and it's a program that is supported by, has been supported by our Congressman Bill Keating in his time in office, and on his behalf, I want to call up Inez Gonzalez-Drolet to say a few words on the Congressman's behalf. Inez.
Good morning, everybody. Wow, is it working for me?
It just works for you.
It just works for me. I am so happy to be here. I gotta say, this event always puts a spring in my step, I think because it feels like spring has sprung, as the mayor has said. It's a wonderful event. I'm happy to be here because we get to celebrate you and to thank you for the incredible work that you do. Congressman Keating is in Atlanta at the Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit. It's an annual event, and unfortunately it seems to coincide with this event as well. It happened the same thing last year. Otherwise, I know he'd be here to personally thank you and congratulate you all. Drug abuse and heroin is, of course, an awful problem, not just in our city, but throughout the country. And it's an issue that the Congressman is very committed to and is very involved with, introducing legislation to try to mitigate some of the reasons for the addiction. And so I know you know well the problem in this city, and you work with people every day that suffer from drug abuse and addiction, and I'm sure it's one of the leading causes of the homelessness in this city. So it's a great segue into why CDBG, Community Development Block Grants, are so important to cities, because they fund and help provide the services that you do. And I don't know where the city would be or where I would be without people like Bruce, who's been around for so many years. I don't know, 40 years at least, close. No, with PACE. Yeah, Bruce and the Immigrants Assistance Center, I believe they're celebrating 45 years this year in the community. Jim Reed with the Veterans Transition Home, Gloria Williams, as the mayor said, so many of you, too many to recognize, but you guys do such incredible work in the city. Where would we be without you? So I know the congressman would want to thank you personally, and I do so in his behalf. I also want to thank Mayor Mitchell and Patrick, of course, for their advocacy with the federal delegation to get those federal dollars here to the city. I know they try very hard. They're in D.C., and the congressman has always been supportive and will continue to be supportive of as many federal dollars that we can bring to our city. So again, in his name, I thank you all for the work that you do, the commitment. I know with less money, you have to think out of the box, and there's certainly more need and less money. So I know that you're committed, you're hardworking, you're dedicated, and I thank you so much for the services that you provide this city. So thank you on his behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inez, and we certainly greatly appreciate the continued support in Congress by Congressman Keating. He does a tremendous job advocating funds for this important program, and thank you, Mayor, for the great support that you have shown for the program over the years. Without that, your guidance and leadership, we are able to spend these funds in the greatest way possible to help the community.
Good morning. This is Mary Raposo, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Beaches for the City of New Bedford. Throughout the year, we work with children, adults, and young people, offering programs in the city. Some are been around for quite a while, and some are brand new. Here we are celebrating with the Community Block Grant Program, and what I'd like to do is give you some highlights of some of the programs that they've supported for us in the past and going forward into the future. One of those programs is the Seasonal Training and Employment Program. This program is a program designed for young adults in the city of New Bedford, and every summer we have about 22 young adults that work with us in the Seasonal Training and Employment Program, and they receive coaching on job readiness throughout the summer. Many of them work in our Play in the Park program and summer food service program in our parks, playgrounds, and housing authority sites throughout the city. Another great program that CDBG has been funding for us is the Kennedy Summer Day program. This program has been around a while. We have children in the program whose grandparents attended the Kennedy Summer Day program. This program is really popular. We have 120 slots at 4 different sessions, and the past few years they have all been full. The kids have a great time. They get all sorts of activities from swimming to arts and crafts to kayaking, and last year they learned how to quahog. The program does take place at Fort Tabor Community Center. Another program that's funded through CDBG is our after-school program. We are at Hayden McFadden this year. The children there get a terrific program Monday through Friday, every day after school, and includes, again, things like arts and crafts and yoga classes. And we have a great team of staff there that really connect with the children and give them another caring adult in their life. The community development block grants also are responsible for the facility that we're currently in, the Andre McCoy Recreation Center. They have completely renovated the facility, so we have this great gym upstairs that is just really popular for both programming. We have open gym. We also have rentals that use the gymnasium for things like birthday parties. Downstairs is also completely renovated. We have a computer lab, a classroom, a kitchenette, and a conference room, and those are programmed by our staff and also available for rentals as well. So I'd just like to pass this back to Patrick, and again, thank everyone in his office for all the great work they do and the great team players that they are. They've done other infrastructure projects for us, such as the Harrington Park, which was completely renovated and opened last summer, including this terrific splash pad, which the neighborhood kids are very excited to have, and it was very popular last year during the summer. Another great project that happened last year was the complete redevelopment of the Ruth Street playground. The playground equipment there had seen better years, and now they have this fantastic new structure. And again, this is a really popular playground and very well attended throughout the year, and the kids are going to be really pleased to have this in place for this summer.
Today, on behalf of our office with the Community Partner Award, in recognition of the outstanding contribution made in benefiting the City of New Bedford, its residents, and the community through ongoing dedication, initiatives, and the provision of services. So we present this Community Partnership Award to PACE Youth Builds New Bedford. Thank you.
I know you've already heard enough from me, but again, this isn't about me. This is about the staff at Youth Build. It's about the partnerships we've developed over the years with the city to try to bring services and a second chance to the youth in this program. Thank you very much. Gloria and Lisa, this belongs to you.
Thanks, Bruce. It was funny. I've been working with Laurie for many years, and she just gave me a dirty look because she didn't know she was speaking this morning, but she did an outstanding job, as she always does, so thank you, Laurie. The next award is another special award that we have each year, and I'm going to ask the Reverend David Lehman to come up and present the Sister Rose Award, which is a tremendous achievement for someone that has done outstanding accomplishments in the field of homelessness and preventing homelessness. So I'll leave it at that, and David can better articulate the award. David?
Thank you, Patrick. Excuse me. First, I want to congratulate everybody in the great work from the Pat's office and everybody in his office. Look, when I see just the forms that have to be filled out to apply for any funds, I admire all of you, okay? Anybody who ever watches me, I don't even write notes when I do my service on Sunday. Writing is a pain for me, and just applying for funds is and then having to go back and tell them what you did with the money. That's really scary stuff. But the fact of the matter is, without it, we don't get it. And when we don't get it, the city doesn't get helped. The Sister Rose Award is for outstanding work in the area of homelessness. Sister Rose, of course, is our own saint, our local saint. She was someone who, at a time when the shelter was being brought together, Market Ministries was being created, she became the leader. And not only handling it managerially, administratively, she was a spiritual leader. But she was one who would go out and do the work, never looking for recognition, never looking for anything. So when she was recognized, we decided at that time, I had the privilege of already being on the HSPN, that we would do this annually and recognize somebody that, started getting towards that stature of a Sister Rose. So we'd get that award. And if you have the program in front of you, the names are a who's who of people that have done working with the homeless, from Arlene McNamee, Kathleen Schindler-Clark, Fred Macedo was no longer with us, Shelley Correa, Brenda Souza, Steve Montalbaum, Bruce Morrell, Ken Grace and Russ Chamberlain one year, Carl Alves and Peter Muse. All people who have dedicated, sometimes their full-time occupation, others like Peter, who was last year's recipient, who is a president CEO of a local credit union, who not only sits at the HSPN, but sits at the regional SOCO, co-chairing that with Senator Michael Rodrigues, all in an effort to help make a space for someone who has less than anybody else. The fact of the matter is, we have incredible difficulties, and every community has that. New Bedford is not solely in a place where we have the biggest problems. Just read and listen to everything that we see from the Cape to Brockton to Springfield to Boston. It's overwhelming. And it's the work of people that do it, not only from the top down, but the foot soldiers that actually are on the ground doing that work without recognition. So many different people out of Catholic Social Services, PACA, all the dear Stepping Stone. I mean, you can't name enough people. You really can't to say thank you. And so when you're able to highlight one person, they're always pretty special. You're trying to recognize somebody that stands head and shoulders above the rest, but doesn't necessarily want recognition. And this year's recipient is just that. And when I was asked if I could make the presentation, Kyle Alves, our chair, would normally be doing that, but he too is down at the summit on the opioid abuse and drug use, because that is also an effort that has to be accomplished. We have to make a change so that we can start stemming that flow of people that end up homeless. And Kyle would have been here, and he sends his regrets to our recipient that he couldn't be doing this personally, but thankfully I'm able to do it because he's a good friend and has been a great colleague. This year's recipient, who I'd like to invite up to stand with me as I say a few words about him, is George Bailey of Mobile Loaves and Fishes. George is a mainstay at St. Paul's Methodist Church. He's a mainstay at the ICC in singing all our hymns, because if I sang the hymns, the services would clear out fast, okay, whenever we have a service. But the fact of the matter is, Mobile Loaves and Fishes is a ministry that started in Austin, Texas. It was a group of church people that packaged up lunches, put them in a station wagon, went out to feed the homeless in Austin. And they geared up to a place where they started doing canteen trucks, and then they started letting other groups around the country do that. And the first one in New England was in Warwick. And then that pastor, Brian Sousa, when he came to the area, started to talk about the possibility of bringing it here. And St. Paul's stepped up, and they ended up bringing it there. The miracle of it is that it is multiple churches and other groups that are volunteers on this truck. Nobody gets paid to do the job. All the money goes into feeding the folks, between donations and everything else. And the job that they do, serving 100 to 150 people a day, in the heat of the summer, in the cold of the winter, during storms, they're out there every day. And it's not just, George is identified by his quiet ministry of his Christian faith, his integrity in his Christian faith. But it's all groups. The synagogue goes out on Monday nights. It's everybody that does this work together, because this is a community problem that demands a community solution, and George heads that up. He's the quiet person who has a full-time job. Like many of us, we have full-time jobs doing what we do. But he has a full-time job as an owner of a business and still does this at night and makes sure that truck's supplied and makes sure it's going out. So I want to congratulate you, George, and want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate you. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, basically because some of the words are too small. But just so that you know that a lot of people appreciate the work that you do. The silence that you do it with is not necessarily appreciated. The fact of the matter is, you're the backbone behind this ministry, and a lot of people would not be getting fed out there at night if it wasn't for you and what you guys do. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I kind of feel like Bruce. I was coming home here to this gym. I haven't been in over 40 years. Like, I used to be the old Vogue, and of course that's about the same time that the CDBG was starting up in the 70s. But Reverend Lima just took pretty much all the words that I was going to say about the ministry. But I would like to maybe highlight a few different things quickly here. Most of you are familiar with Mobile Loaves and Fishes, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some of the groups that he has mentioned, some of them that worked together so well for the MLF success. Our mission statement says that we give food, clothes, and dignity to our brothers and sisters in need. While we do that, we share God's love and care for them. First of all, I'd like to thank God for the opportunity to serve and to work with so many committed people in the fight against homelessness. And for those of you who don't know, we have about a 100% volunteer team that uses a catering truck to go out every day except Sunday. And now we're up to 9 churches and a synagogue that help the needy. And as you can imagine, to serve 50,000 meals a year with snow, rain, or shine, it requires much dedication. And I'm going to quickly just rattle off some of the names of those organizations so that they can get their recognition. The home base is at St. Paul's, right up here, Rockdale and Kempton. But we also have Pacific Union Congregational Church in Westport. They take the Tuesday and Wednesday runs. Ken Schwartz, who's at Tiferet Israel Synagogue, takes the Monday run at Salvation Army. We also have Spirit of Christ Church in Westport that takes the Thursday run downtown. And we have the Packer run is taken by Hope Evangelical Church in Dartmouth. They take that on Friday. And on Saturday, we go back to the Salvation Army. And there's a volume run there that we've done right from the beginning. And we're monitoring about 4 different churches down there at that place. On the first weekend, it's Westport Point United Methodist Church of Westport. We're just starting to negotiate with St. Anthony's of Mattapoisett to take the second Saturday of the month. His Love Reaching in New Bedford takes the third Saturday. And as we speak, we're starting next month with South Coast Community Church of Fairhaven to take the 4th and 5th Saturdays when they occur. I'd also like to thank Steve Belay of Fairhaven, who started an organization called Lift and Love that coordinates an annual community-wide serve-a-thon fundraiser whose proceeds are split up between MLF and the Salvation Army. And there are many individuals and businesses that support MLF. They raise funds, they get food, clothes, and many things that we can help, and we're grateful for that. And I'd also like to appreciate the relationship we have with HSPN, because they are bringing together and networking with multiple agencies to provide services for the homeless population so they don't have to be on the street, but they also help implement programs to improve the quality of life through the organizations like Catholic Social Services, Packer, and others that were mentioned. And I'd also like to shout out to Pastor Lima here, who's on so many boards I can't remember them all, but he always puts a plug in for MLF wherever he goes, and we really appreciate that. What I usually say about MLF is that the next time you see a homeless person standing on the corner with a little cardboard sign and you don't know whether or not you should give money to them, I'd like to suggest that you make a donation to MLF, because that's the safest, most effective, and efficient way to get 100% of your donation down to the street where the needy and homeless are. And finally, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging such a great collaborative work against homelessness in honor of Sister Rose, who for so many years ran the shelter in New Bedford area. And God bless you all.
Recognition from the congressman for you as well.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Sorry? Okay. Right here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I give you a check for a donation?
Sure. Mobile loaves and fishes. Thank you very much.
Well, that was always a moving presentation, and thank you, David, for doing a fantastic job honoring a most deserving individual. So that concludes our program, and I really, really want to thank all of you here for taking time out of your schedules to be part of this. I know this year it was kind of a last-minute thing. We had some scheduling challenges, but greatly appreciate you all here, and special recognition again to Bruce and George and Mary Raposa that's done some tremendous jobs. And I wanted to point out, I saw Cynthia Walquist here earlier that runs our programs in the city, Human Services, and does a tremendous job in receiving some CDBG funds for that. So thank you all. Enjoy this tremendous spring day, and we'll look for a great season from the Red Sox this year, right? Thanks so much.